Hello, and welcome to another Father of the Day interview as we celebrate fathers this month of June. I'm your host, George, and with me today I have Ruben Ramos. How are you doing,
That's
Ruben?
correct. Good. How are you, George?
I'm doing well. We're really excited to have you with us today and for you to share your unique fatherhood experience. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe where you're joining us from today?
You bet. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate you considering me for this.
Mhm.
Sure. I am joining from Waco, Texas. So that would be in the central, what they consider the heart of Texas here.
Mhm.
And just a little bit about myself. I'm grew up in Texas, but I became a dad or a father by foster care. So I became a foster parent about 4 years ago, and adopted my son in 2020, and that is my journey into becoming a father.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So can you just tell us? So it began. So you were saying that your story began by you adopting, which is actually a very unique story because they probably are some dads that are considering adopting, uh, or there's some dads that inherited children from another marriage or them marrying their partner. So can you just share your experience on how you mentally you went about making that decision?
Sure. And I think for many, and especially mom was like, you're crazy. Why would you choose to do something like that on your own?
Yes.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
truly choose to do it on my own. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think and it is something bold to do. I personally, I always knew that I wanted to adopt since I
Mm-hmm.
was very young. When I was 33, I felt like it was the right time, and so I began the fostering, process, which takes a while, and I did that on my own. Even though I have wanted to have you know the right one, I
Yeah.
really didn't ever really feel like I had to wait for quote unquote the right one to
Yes.
to make a difference in child's lives. And so
Mm-hmm.
initially, I started the process on my own and went through the process. I was not selected many times, and then I met my son at one of the if anyone's familiar with the adoption events. There was before the pandemic, there was adoption events, and I
Mm-hmm.
met him there. And I got to spend some time with him. And what that's like is really, they call it the adoption festival, where kiddos who are up for adoption come to this festival. Parents who are looking to adopt or foster come to this festival as well. You get to meet some of the kiddos, you spend time with them, and see if if there are any that you may be inquiring about. Well, I met my
Mm-hmm.
son at one of those, and I had already been to, I think this was my third one, and I met him actually 5 years ago today. It was June 3rd when I met him. So
Wow,
5 years
that's
ago
impressive.
today, yeah. So I met him, and I spent the entire event with him, and afterwards I was speechless. I had been to these events before. I had inquired about many kids in the past. I was never selected because I was a single male, had never had
Mm-hmm.
children,
Mm-hmm.
did not have any family where I was living at the time. So it was completely on my own. So I'm sure on paper I did not look like the best
Yeah.
fit for a child who is in foster care, who has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of needs. And so on paper, I just, was not really selected by anyone to be placed any children. And so with him, I had actually inquired about him. And so when I met
Mm-hmm.
him, I realized that I had already inquired. So
Wow.
I told, their caseworker that I was interested in being considered to be his foster parent.
Mm-hmm.
And it went like about a month or so, the process. Finally, I was told no. So I was not selected for him. And then that was in June, and then went through December, January. Finally, I had enough of the not being selected, and I was literally about to cancel my license as a foster parent because it is
Mm-hmm.
emotionally draining. There
Yes.
are times when I was told that I was selected, and then a day prior, right before, I was told, never mind, they were placed with someone else. They were placed with someone else, and
Wow.
so you get really emotional by this child's coming into your life, and then you're not selected afterwards. So for me, I was literally in the garage of my job and about to go upstairs and send an email
Mm-hmm.
to my caseworker and tell her that I was going to cancel my license. as a foster parent. And right as I walked in through my office, the front door, I got a call, and she was like, "Hey, do you remember Hector?" And I was like, "Yeah, I remember Hector." And
Hmm.
she's like, "Well, if they want to know, it didn't work out with the other family. They want to know if you're still interested." And of course, I was like,
Hmm.
"Absolutely." So 3 days later, he walks into my life, and he's been in my life since then. And I fostered him, gosh, for a few years, about two years or so, and
Hmm.
then adopted him. And so that's how I became a dad. It was by choice,
Hmm.
not because I felt I wanted to be a dad or needed to be a dad. I've always had,
Hmm.
I think, just a heart for those vulnerable populations and those in need. And from that, I gained or earned the title of a dad. So that's how I became a father
That
nowadays.
Hector, that is a beautiful story. So your son, Ruben, your son Hector,
Hmm.
um, tell us a little bit about him, his personality, and and also what type of activities you like to do with him.
Sure, yeah. So Hector does have a diagnosis of autism, and so his ways of interacting and engaging in activities are a little different.
Yes.
But I'm very, very involved with him. Hector does have a quirky personality.
Hmm.
He's funny. He likes to tease a lot, and he likes to make little corny jokes. He has a fun personality, but a very kind kid. And so I do a lot of activities with him. I spend a lot of time with him. I mean, just yesterday was his birthday, and
Oh.
starts off by, where do you want to go have breakfast? So I take him to breakfast. He wanted to go
Yes.
to IHOP, so I take him to IHOP. He ordered whatever he wants. Afterwards, he was like, let's go to the movies. So we go to the movies, and then arcade, and then let's have the dinner with the family and the cake and your favorites. And
Hmm.
I'm very
That's amazing.
detailed with him. I look
Hmm.
to really, I don't look to necessarily spend on the biggest, most expensive thing or luxury. I go by what is truly gonna make him happy. What is truly gonna make him feel comfortable and enjoy himself. And that's what I
Hmm.
focus on. So I jib jive with life and his interests and likes.
Hmm.
So we do a lot of hiking. I used to run quite a bit, and so I taught him how to ride a bike, and then he would ride a bike next to me while I run. We do anything from shopping, spending time at home, playing video games, um, educate him. I'm always educating him, and
Hmm.
so I
Hmm.
spend a lot of time with him. I get to know him a lot. When things
Hmm.
come up, school, doctors, anything. I'm usually on point about what he needs and what things are like. I look for patterns. So I spend a lot of time with him. I mean, he is my world revolves around his needs.
That's amazing. So what is the most challenging part of fatherhood?
Gosh, adapting, I think, to their changes,
Yes,
as they're
definitely.
growing and as you are changing, because as a dad, it's not something they really can train us for. They don't prepare us. You can only be
Yes.
prepared as you're going to be. And then
Hmm.
as life happens, as they adjust, especially in my situation, foster care, these kiddos are in foster because, not because they chose to be.
Yes.
Things have gone wrong, have gone very wrong for them. And so for that, I think the most important thing to remember is to really be patient with yourself, and
Hmm.
to find the time to do it all. For me, as a single parent by choice, I think that's what I find most challenging, to find the time to do everything. I recently started working as a teacher, and
Hmm.
I'm a second grade teacher, and to get myself and my son ready in the morning, work all day with students, second graders, and then
Hmm.
come home, and the I don't get to check out. I get to parenthood is your one full-time job if you want to do it right. And so to come home and feed the dog, the cat, the child, and
Yes.
help the child with
Yes.
homework, and then take
Hmm.
care of yourself, it's a
Right.
lot. So I think for some of us who are very giving and loving, that can be very
Yeah.
challenging, because you want to be
Right.
there for them, but at the same
Right.
time, if you're not good yourself, you can't be good for anyone else.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Especially they're changing rapidly. Like within 2 months, they could be a whole different person, a
Yeah.
whole different interest.
Yeah, you
And
don't keep up. It's like,
yeah,
physically, emotionally, developmentally, they're changing all the time.
Yes, yes, that's very challenging. And as dads, we don't really get a lot enough help and services made just
Mhm.
for us. Um, I know there's a lot of services for moms and moms that are doing it by themselves and like, but there's not really a lot catered specifically just to dads. You just have to be like, oh, I'm a single dad, so can they help me? I mean, I know you guys help moms, but maybe you could help dads as well. But I wish there would be something specifically like what we do just for dads to help focus on dads. What do you have to? What message do you send society about putting more awareness to that?
To providing services for dads,
Yes.
I agree with you. I think traditionally, you normally see mostly, and just as being a teacher and someone who has worked
Hmm.
with families a lot in schools,
Hmm.
I think you do see mom just being more involved, and that's just where you see a lot more of that. But that doesn't mean that
Yeah.
dad doesn't want to be involved,
Yes.
or that dad is not interested. I think the interest and the wants is there. I think we're just kind of pinned into a society stereotype, and so I think for
Hmm.
services wise, I think there certainly is a more need for group support. For men,
Yes.
we
Absolutely.
tend to see and do things a little different, and I think usually you tend to give more just because of they're more involved with women. But I think if there is this if breaking through a barrier of what the expectation is for a father, and I
Hmm.
think that's where we have a lot of downfall. Mother's Day, I have so many people say, and Happy Mother's Day to you. I'm like, no, I'm not a
Hmm.
mom. I'm not a mom. They're like, you're taking the role of both a mom and a dad. But I'm not. I don't identify as a woman, and nor can I
Yeah.
give birth to a child. So
Right.
I don't do
Hmm.
both roles. I think that traditionally in just society has been this idea of the man does one thing, the woman does another. And I think
Yes.
breaking through that, I think is something that really would
Hmm.
allow us men to grow through and becoming better
Right.
dads, becoming better fathers, because we are that stereotype of, well, as a dad, you have to teach them how to play sports, how to,
Hmm.
be tough. And when really we've learned over time that being tough means being emotionally vulnerable takes a lot more
Yes.
strength than holding your emotions in, which is
Absolutely.
why many times in the future we have so many challenges with men who have not worked through their emotions, have not allowed themselves to be vulnerable because we grow up in this tough it out situation, which I'm guilty of that myself. I tell my son sometimes, hey, tough it out. But I think it is important as a dad, and just as a parent in general, to know how to be there for your child, to not be the stereotypical parent.
Hmm.
You are able to be both nurturing, a good listener, teach them sports, and show them how to cook, and still play video games for them, and go about their interests. And I think we are able to do what everything we are able to do there.
Yeah.
But I think breaking through that stereotype and what society has pinned us about the expectations, I think is what really holds us back. I think if there were some services where there was a safe place for there to be support for men to work through that stereotype and just be
Hmm.
comfortable, I think that would help us grow a lot. I think that is what keeps us from growing a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely that's why we provide like we try to provide services in the open space for the dads to come and we make it like a village perspective where they be able to come in and be emotionally vulnerable and not be judged.
Right.
And we we do this pre-father care where we teach men their their partners are pregnant how to how to be how to prepare for their child and also to deal with post traumatic stress disorder, which happens to the dad as well as same
Hmm.
as mom. So I think if we have more services that cater to our emotions and teach us how to manage our emotions, it will be better for the generation coming up because then they'll be able to you know be be a whole person than just like learning how to do this and keeping their emotions to the side. But thank you for sharing that. I really thank you. We really need to hear that. And
Yeah.
what advice would you give a new father about fatherhood?
Oh man, I think be patient not only with your child, but I think be patient with yourself more than anything. Be patient with yourself. I know personally, as someone who is not doesn't do well with not meeting the expectations of the standard. I think trying to do it all and getting it right. I think for me most challenging has been being patient with myself, because I'm so used to, I think we're used to succeeding in such roles or things in our lives, and things that we thrive in, and then when it comes to parenting, boy, there's just no keeping up. I now
Yes.
understand what they meant by there's no manual for parenting. It now makes sense to me. They told me
Hmm.
this a lot through foster care. So I was, going through the training to become a foster parent. But once you become a parent, that's when you really know what that means. And you
Hmm.
just make it, you just figure it out. And I think being patient with yourself and being okay with accepting any mistakes, any downfalls, I think takes a lot. And I think that's what can be most challenging, especially for us men. I think not getting it right the first time and just accepting and moving on, learn from it, move on, and try to get it right the next time. But I would say just being patient mostly with yourself, because there is no keeping up with kids. You just roll with it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, thank you. I have some rapid fire questions for our outro. So I'm just gonna say a word and tell me
Sure.
the first thing that comes to mind. The first word is kid.
Everywhere.
The second word is partner.
Support.
Fatherhood.
Crazy.
Love.
Valuable.
Uh, Dad.
Ah, a gift.
Sleep.
Needed.
Gift.
Uh, can be there.
Greatness.
Needed.
And lastly, self care.
Important.
Important. Ruben, I really want to thank you on behalf of me and Fathers Uplift for doing this interview today. And we really highlight you and appreciate you as a father and what you're doing is important. Um, the choice to make, the choice to be a father by adopting is one of the most powerful things you could ever do in life. And we really appreciate you and everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, George. And I appreciate this opportunity.
All right.
It's a big deal. So thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.